was giving me a weird warning as I signed on, and it actually crashed. So let me just see if we're all engaged here technically. Just give me 1 second. Let me see. Let me see what's up. Says I'm offline on one connection. Don't know why. Let me try again. Rumble should be working. No problemo. Okay, no, there we're going. Sorry about that, team. Okay, we're good. We're good. Ben, good morning, Bitcoin lovers. Indeed, we're loving the Bitcoin lovers. Hoddle T. Washington, morning, Breakup fan. Morning, Hoddle T. Hassan, good morning. Thomas, good morning. Finally get to catch a live episode again on ETF Approval Day. It is that, isn't it? Yeah, it's true. John Galt, what a day. It sure is. Live long and prosper, Defina. We love it. B for victory. Bomatan, good morning, Bitcoiners, on a very happy day. Assalamu alaikum. By running, you specifically mean running a miner / own nodes for the average future Bitcoiner. I see majority folks not caring and holding their BTC on custodians like Swan or Unchained. Muslim Bitcoiner, my prediction on that. So I put running Bitcoin in order to acknowledge it's not just ETF approval day, right? It's not just ETF approval day. It is Bitcoin, running Bitcoin Halfini Day, right? Today is January 10th. So this is an important thing because in order to have a peer-to-peer network, you need two peers. So Satoshi alone and January 3rd is not technically the birthday of Bitcoin in a sense, because it's a peer-to-peer network. It was a peer network in the sense that there was one person we know, but the only other confirmed or the second confirmed person mining running Bitcoin was Halfini. So there is some form of logic where today is actually the day where we have our first two peers, and Muslim Bitcoiner, have the answer to your question about where this is headed. So indeed, you can imagine that you see a majority of folks not caring about running a node and things like that. I don't run one when I'm here in Barbados, by the way. A little too complicated. I may one day. But the point is that the first two peers in the Bitcoin network were Satoshi and Hal. And this idea of peer-to-peer network is important because indeed the peers in the Bitcoin network are not just people who hold Bitcoin and all that. Peers are actually just the people who run nodes. And peerage is not just for anyone in the world. It's the same as in Magna Carta time. Do you know what the Lords of England, right? When the House of Lords was created, the original parliamentary institution, one of the big changes in the history of the UK and in governance models in the world, started with the Lords putting the sword to the king, saying, we have enough armies together, and as peers, we can destroy you. So you have to counsel with us. So that's the beginning of these parliaments and those kinds of systems. So the point that I'm getting to is that indeed right now there isn't really a premium on peerage in Bitcoin. It's not like a thing that gets widely distributed or widely acknowledged as, like, credentialism is the wrong word, but as something to brag about, right? Within Bitcoiners, it's something to brag about, but that's going to spread as we continue to influence culture, which is what we're going to talk about today. Peerage will become something that you aspire to, just like being a lord one day, right? So just like being a lord, it will come with its own inherent social signals, which will become very important. So we're not quite there, but running Bitcoin indeed means being a peer. And I put the headline today, more to honor our late Hal Finney and the actual birthday of Bitcoin, because the peer and the peer are important. Two peers, you need two peers, right? Otherwise, Bitcoin was just masturbating, right? Here we go. We got the real thing now. So there you go. That's what's happening. Let me get a couple more of these. We got some super fake news today. It's funnier than ever. Everything is getting funnier. Everything is getting funnier. Edgar, howdy, Edgar. Aqualodge, good morning. David, good morning, Breakup. Fasten your seatbelts. Indeed, it's going to be a great one. Daniel, good morning, Bitcoiners. Austin, sup, Austin. Hope you're doing great. Capenta, good morning. Sergio, running towards Bitcoin. We love that. We love that. Unchained is not a custodian. Yeah, and who do they use again? I don't remember. ETF phone home. Glenn, I got to copy that one. ETF phone home. Very good. Very good. I don't know how that didn't come to me this morning. I might have used that had I seen it before. I consulted the ChatGPT even on headlines today. This one I came up with myself, but we came pretty close. So I wish I'd have had that earlier. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. Indeed, Bitcoin, in honor of Hal, let's just acknowledge it's been 15 years since Hal Finney tweeted running Bitcoin. And guess what? It's still running perfectly. No troubles every day since. Wow. And I'm not sure if it's happened every day since, but it happened today. The sun came up. I'm pretty sure it's happened every day since, right? So we got Sunrise Tech operational. We got Money Tech operational. All that's left for us to do is have a coffee and talk about what's new and funny. Funny stuff today. Really funny. So, as you know, I like to start every one of these mornings with the fakest news I can find, right? What's the Moscow time out there today? Moscow time. All right. So the Spanish people, Spain, I guess they had, they got some politics stuff there. I don't really pay attention to what goes on in Europe too much. But over in Spain, I guess they had some kind of a fight a little while ago, and then the communists were trying to take over, but then they said no. But in the end, it looks like it was all for nothing, because according to Walter Bloomberg and according to what's going on in Spain, wearing a mask becomes compulsory again in Spanish hospitals. So if you go to Spain, you get to wear a little mask. You just put it on your face. It's gonna be great. We've also got this case in DC, so forget about Europe for a second. America's got plenty of clown world stuff going on. And in DC, it turns out that a DC council is expected to vote Tuesday on whether to make a former murderer a member of the DC Sentencing Commission. Well, that's good. And we're going to talk about sentencing today, but that's pretty amazing, right? That's some DEI right there, right? And at least they know at this point that that the person doing the sentencing, right, has some experience. They know, they murder someone, you learn about the sentencing, and now they can help everyone there, right? They know. Right? They know how to help sentence murderers because they're a murderer themselves. Can you believe that for years we were sentencing murderers without any murderers themselves with experience in murdering and getting sentenced? That's crazy. How did we get along? How did this work? Right? How did it work? And here's some really good news. So this is from the mayor of Chicago. Chicago is going to have so many people for their own sentencing boards, right? Because they got a lot of murderers there, so it's going to be helpful. They're going to have more candidates to pull from once they start putting more murderers in the sentencing boards. So it'll be great. But the mayor of Chicago, right? We've heard him a few times complain about Texas. He's taking it a little different this time. So now he's saying that Governor Abbott is intentionally attacking leaders of color, right, by busing the migrants. So the point here, so the mayor of Chicago understands the intentions of the governor of Texas, and he knows, right? He's got the mind reading ability. He knows what the governor of Texas is up to, right? It's of course he's after the minorities, right? Of course. So we've also got these ones. These are really good, right? So you remember, that Joe Biden came out with a zinger for Trump, right? So he came out with a zinger. You know what he called Trump a few days ago? He called him a loser, right? He called him a loser. He said Trump's a loser. When he gave his speech on January 6th, he said Trump's a loser, right? Now, some people think Trump is maybe the best comedian alive today, right? He's got a really great new skit about Biden. It's a physical. You don't really see Trump do too many physicals, but he's got a physical now. Where he tries to act like Biden getting off of stage and trying to find the stairs. It's pretty good. He doesn't say a word. He just sort of walks around. He's like, where do I go? So that's his, right? But Biden came up with the loser one, and people said, not as good, not that good, right? Wasn't as funny. But guess what, right? Huffington Post with a headline here, all right? Seth Meyers supercharges Joe Biden's dig at Donald Trump. They put this in a headline. Seth Meyers supercharges Joe Biden's dig. The late night comedian amplified the president's slam in the most sarcastic way. All right, so Seth Meyers mocked former President Donald Trump after Joe Biden called his predecessor in the White House a loser for continuing to falsely insist that he won the 2020 election. Oh, come on, Myers lamented on Tuesday's broadcast of NBC's late night NBC News. I had it again. The comedian then sarcastic. This is the supercharge, guys. This is the supercharge. What has Trump ever lost besides an airline, his hotel, a golf course, a popular vote twice, the electoral vote once, 2 wives, a casino, most of the hair, and his mind? Oh, he supercharged it. Supercharged Seth Meyers. You're so funny. Seth Meyers. Meanwhile, this is a headline from Politico. Okay. This one's also great. Okay. This one is, again, sometimes I say some of these belong in like the Louvre or the Smithsonian as just works of art of fake news, right? Just works of art of Moscow time. But here we go. This is from Politico. They published this. They published it. Why far-right conspiracy theorists are obsessed with sex trafficking. Why they're obsessed. From Pizzagate to QAnon, and now the Epstein, and they put the Epstein list in quotations. The Epstein list, because it's like, it's a fanciful idea, right? The so-called Epstein list. From Pizzagate to QAnon, and now the Epstein list. An expert explains why sex trafficking conspiracies are so buzzy in MAGA circles. They're buzzy, guys. It's buzz. We're all buzz. It's all a buzz. It's all a buzz. We got more, though. We got more. I thought I had another really good one here for Trump. I thought I had 2 really good Trump ones. Well, I guess I don't. That's okay. All right. So the other fake news is the actual SEC. So the SEC came out, and I guess they got hacked or something yesterday, right? So a lot of people talking about it. A lot of people don't really buy the SEC story. But here's what we know. That the SEC's Twitter account, I guess, was compromised. So this is what Gary Gensler wrote, right? The SEC Twitter account was compromised and an unauthorized tweet was posted. The SEC has not approved the listing and trading of spot Bitcoin exchange traded products. So that's what it was. The fake tweet came out, said that the ETFs have been approved. We saw all kinds of price fluctuations, and then boom, right? Then it was, oh, we're hacked. No. So a lot of people talking about it. We've got Nick Carter writing, can't beat this for entertainment. Chris Black writes, outside hacker, incompetent intern, something else. What do you think? And then, of course, Jeffrey Miller writes, que bono, who benefits, right? So who benefits? I don't know the answer to it. Rufus Camuel says, and started bringing up the old tweets. So this is from the SEC from 2018. Elon Musk charged with securities fraud for misleading tweets. They've also sued a bunch of people in the past for misleading tweets. They've got this one. SEC charges 8 social media influencers in $100 million stock manipulation scheme promoted on Discord and Twitter. So they did that a few months ago. This is, of course, anyone who was advertising this stuff. Anyone who was advertising restricted securities got in trouble for this. You know, the old... what was her name with the boobs, and she used to be married to Kanye West. You know, what's her name? She got a show, the Kardashians, right? The Kardashians. She got charged in that. A few others. Here's what Matt Corallo says: 100% on brand for the SEC, 100% on brand for Twitter, and entirely on brand for Bitcoin. Just all around perfect execution. Best investor protection ever. And isn't it funny? You know, what other financial product causes this kind of discombobulation with state actors? I can't, there's nothing else out there. Already this ETF is the most popular financial product in the history of financial products. There's never been any financial product that's had more ink spilled, more articles written, more clicks, more anything. There's nothing else that's ever been like that. And it's even causing states to go wonky. It's like it has its own gravitational pull, and it's gathering all of these people and creating all of this chaos and all of this madness. And the reason I continue to think is because, just like anything, it sort of doesn't mix with the corruption that is actually going on in financial markets and our justice system and all of our legal systems. Something about it just repels, and it creates this almost physics reaction. I've mentioned many, many times that one of the big thrusts behind Bitcoin is the Newtonian third law, which is equal and opposite reactions. And the corruption that we're witnessing in all of our systems, and how funny it all is actually one of the best things that is propelling Bitcoin forward, right? It's why I continue to say that we're dealing with psychological commodities here. The US dollar is a psychological commodity. Bitcoin is a psychological commodity. And the psychology of the people promoting it and the people pushing it and the people regulating it, all of these things are really important and indicative of where we're headed. And if you wonder about where the US dollar is headed, you don't need to look further than the SEC corruption case here, or even what I just said about murderers sentencing people in DC. Like, I mean, imagine murderers sentencing murderers, right? Now, it sounds like mentally handicapped to be living in a system like that, but that's what we got. And it's by no coincidence, right? It's just what happened. But we had the Ray Epps sentencing yesterday. Ray Epps. Do you guys know who Ray Epps is? So Ray Epps is the only person caught in the January 6th tape saying, go in. He was there the night before saying, we're storming the Capitol. They have him on video. Right now, I'm the first to say don't believe videos, but I think there's so many videos of January 6th, especially the ones that came out recently, that, you know, some of them must be real. Maybe all of them, who knows? So we know about Ray Epps is that he was many times suggesting to be physical, to be violent, to go in, to do this, to do that. And it turned out already in 2022, the New York Times was running cover for this guy. Oh, the poor Ray Epps. Oh, he's getting, all the conservatives believe that he is a government deep cover agent, and that's why he's not getting sentenced, and that's why he's not getting charged with any crimes. Why is everyone else, why is Owen Schroyer, who stepped on the stairs of Congress, going into solitary confinement? You know, Owen Schroyer, the reporter with InfoWars that works with Alex Jones, of course, spent time in solitary confinement for stepping on the stairs, not even really doing much. But Ray Epps got sentenced yesterday to how much? How much do you think Ray Epps got sentenced for telling everyone to storm the Capitol, for being at the place where it breached, for pointing out where to breach the wall? There's video of him doing that. Well, he got nothing. He got zero. He got zero sentencing, right? And it wasn't by the murderer. Like, that guy's not on the sentencing board in DC yet. He just got zero. He just straight up got zero. So there's a lot of people talking about it today. And one of the best accounts out there talking about it is Radix Virum, not Radix, at not Radix. And this is the person who was in the court and observed all of this. So this is what it turns out happened. This is a first-person account, witness account of the courtroom and what went on with Ray Epps. So apparently the big thing was that Ray made attempts to de-escalate, which nobody ever saw, right? But here, the prosecutor praised Epps' de-escalation tactics and had a whole slideshow entitled Attempts to De-Escalate. Both judge and prosecutor both claimed he never tried to go into the Capitol. The prosecutor claimed he struggled and that he could give Epps a felony with a low sentence or a misdemeanor with a high sentence. The prosecutor claimed Ray Epps' case was a unique and complicated case. I don't see how. I also don't see any other January 6th defendant getting this type of special treatment, where a prosecutor claims their case is unique. The prosecutor said they used their prosecutorial discretion to choose to charge Epps with misdemeanor, despite that same prosecutor arguing 10 minutes before that Epps had engaged in felonious conduct. The government agreed with Epps' defense lawyers' arguments regarding mitigating factors for Epps. Laugh out loud. Epps and his lawyers, along with government and Judge Bosberg, all agreed Ray Epps was the victim of widespread conspiracy theories. Just like Epstein, right? It's the same, right? The DOJ themselves admitted they were giving Epps a significant break. The prosecutor argued 6 months is the appropriate sentence. The prosecutor then proceeded to praise Epps, claiming he actually supported law enforcement officers that day. Epps' lawyers pointed out that Epps called the FBI almost immediately on January 8th, and that he gave voluntary statements and cooperated. Epps was allowed to speak and said the FBI had nothing to do with what happened on January 6th. He blamed Fox News for peddling election integrity conspiracy theories and blamed Donald Trump. He said that he believes January 6th was an insurrection. He believes that it was an insurrection. Epps' lawyer claimed people called Epps a boomer on January 5th when Epps was recorded on video urging rally attendees to go into the Capitol the next day. Baked Alaska and others started chanting Fed, but Epps' lawyers claimed Epps was trying to de-escalate. Epps' lawyers made the claims that Epps just said we should go down to the Capitol and claimed he never told people to go in. The government did not dispute this claim. We have seen video evidence that contradicts this, though. Epps' lawyer claimed people called Epps I already read that one. Sorry about that. Epps' lawyer made a big thing about how Epps, in a post-January 6th interview with a citizen journalist, talked about what happened on January 6th being symbolic. His lawyer said Epps was just a symbolic amplification to his voice. Then Ray Epps' lawyer made an astounding admission. He claims that after reviewing footage of Epps and his conduct, the government made a formal decision in 2021 not to charge Epps with anything. He claims Epps is being unfairly treated. Epps' lawyer argued that probation for him is a sentence that would promote accountability. Epps, in a statement, not only lashed out at Fox News, but he lashed out at the Trump cult, he said, right? So it's the cult. It was their fault, right? He praised the FBI and Antifa, saying conclusively they had no involvement in January 6th, and not only angry Trump supporters were part of the mob, and only angry Trump supporters were part of the mob. Epps said the 2020 election was not stolen and that he wants to spend the rest of his life trying to explain this to others. Oh, Ray, what a nice guy you are. You're really helping everyone. It's just awesome, right? So he gets nothing. So the SEC can't release a product, the most popular and famous product in the history of the market, without fucking it up, blaming everyone else but themselves. We can't get sentencing. The judiciary is a scam, right? What about this, right? Now we get the Fanni Willis case continuing to make waves. We get Kaneko the Great. So Fanni Willis, if you remember, is one of the people trying to prosecute Trump, in this case for the election stuff, right? The fake electors, they call them. And by the way, the whole fake electors thing is a bunch of bullshit, right? So Trump tried to get fake people there. No. He tried to send the certification back to the states. And in order to do that, if some of those electoral college voters wouldn't have done whatever the job, you had to have backups there that would have made the process continue, because it could have just fallen apart. So it was more just like stand-ins in order to keep the process going. And this is all on paper and declared beforehand, as this was their strategy, right? So the Trump administration during those days, the January 6 days, telegraphed their plan with these electors. Right? There weren't fake electors or anything like that. So now the Georgia one is also go find me the votes, right? Go find the votes, which the fake news will say means Trump told him to create votes out of nothing, right? But everyone knows they were still counting. There were votes all over. There's still votes all over the place, places they don't know. Apparently, there's a whole warehouse filled with these votes, right? Now we've even seen we've talked many times about the convenience versus credibility tension when it comes to voting systems, something Bitcoiners understand, right? Election systems can either be convenient or they can be credible, but they can't be both. And Elon Musk, who's been on this for a while now, yesterday tweeted that in America, you can actually print your own ballot. You could just print your own. Nothing more convenient than that. And what does that mean, right? If you're a Bitcoiner and you imagine that anyone can make a transaction on another blockchain, what would you say about that blockchain, right? A little too convenient, a little too easy, right? You want to mint yourself some coins, go for it, right? So that's convenient. That's an extreme example of convenience. So this idea, and I think Elon Musk, as someone who has an engineering mindset, is right on top of the target when he talks about that. But now, would you call any of this election interference, for example, right? Because you don't even need to think about the votes. The context before the votes, everything Ray Epps just said, everything that you hear from, the Huffington Post on Seth Meyers losing and all this stuff, right? Amplifying Trump, amplifying Biden's dig. Whoa, he's so cool. Having all of these, all of this litigation against Trump, of course, influences the election. He was in, I think it was in this case, he was in one of these shithole states defending himself in court when he should have been in Iowa a couple days ago. Vivek Ramaswamy is running around Iowa doing all these campaign events, and Trump couldn't even get over there. So he was stuck in a courtroom. Vivek even came out and said that this is bullshit. Trump should be in Iowa competing against me and going out to all these caucuses and meeting people. And he can't. So it's a type of election interference. So this is what we know. But it's funny, right? Don't get mad at this. This is funny. Fanni Willis is very funny, right? We're lucky to have her. If we would have had a competent person, we'd be in a different position. Just like if we'd have had someone else besides Gary Gensler there, we'd be in a different position. The incompetence is one of our best features of the enemies that we're fighting, right? It's one of the best things, that we can laugh at their stupidity and inability to do anything correct is one of the best parts. Their inability to be funny in Seth Meyers' case, right? The transparency with which the Mockingbird assets deploy in order to cover people like Joe Biden and his inability to be funny, to counter Trump's own hilarity, right? This is all perfect. So here's what Kanekoa the Great says about Fanni. Georgia, and there's another one going around. So it's her lover, right? She did this contract thing with her lover and all that. There's another picture going around where this guy, when they're actually indicting Trump, right? Everyone is taking the stills of Fanni trying to be all serious, right? And then this guy's checking her ass out because he's been banging her, right? So here's what we learned, and it gets even better because she's now being called in this guy's divorce. So Fanni is going to have to go testify and be on the record because there's a divorce proceeding now related to all of this stuff. Because I guess both of them are cheating. I guess she was married, he's married, everyone's cheating. Da, 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 da. So Kanekoa says the following: Georgia District Attorney Fanni Willis has been served a subpoena to testify in the divorce proceedings of her chief prosecutor overseeing the Trump case. Willis, allegedly involved in an inappropriate romantic relationship with lead prosecutor Nathan Wade, is scheduled for a sworn deposition on January 23rd related to Wade's divorce case. So all of these people, Fanni Willis, Joe Biden, they're all part of like the Craig Wright era of the US dollar, right? This is the Craig Wright era of money, right? So the US dollar is actually competing with Bitcoin Satoshi's vision in terms of credibility. They're at the same level, right? So that's who we're up against, right? That is literally who we're up against. Bia Shelter writes, the election problem is a variant of the Byzantine generals problem. Yeah, Bia Shelter, that's what we talk about all the time here. It is literally solving those problems. Like election systems are an engineering issue based on cryptography. And so that's why we've got Peter Todd, who's going to come. Peter Todd, that's what he does outside of Bitcoin, is he goes around and does election monitoring, election systems consultations. He is an applied cryptographer. And by applied cryptographer, he takes his expertise into these election systems and looks for penetration, looks for weaknesses. He takes the mindset of a cryptographer, which is to think in adversarial ways. Like, what would a person trying to break what I built do? And use that logic to make the systems more robust and powerful, which is what makes Bitcoin so brilliant, is that it looks like anyway, solved the problems that attackers would bring to the system, which is why the surface area of attack, which is why you always get into these arguments about slow scaling of Bitcoin. And we're not here to optimize its performance. We're trying to optimize its credibility, right? And the credibility thing is everything. And indeed, that's what we're living with now. The US dollar now has a crisis of credibility, and all of the systems that go into it, the media, the elections, the legal system, all the things that support the US dollar are dead. They don't work anymore, and are not coming back. Like, they're not coming. We're not going to fix any of this stuff. We can't. It fails because it didn't take into account human failure, and that's why it's done, right? So the greatest thing Satoshi did was took us for who we are: sinning, failure, jealous, greedy, all of that stuff, and just said, okay, here's a game where you just have to be yourself, right? And the rules of the game are such that in the end, you're competing to tell the truth. And it's a very fabulous, almost magic trick, right? It gets into your root base programming and modifies your wants and fears, and without even rationally understanding it, it gets into your subconscious mind and alters your the way you read the world, right? And the things you want and the things you're afraid of. So the power that Bitcoin has on the collective unconscious is one of the most important things that we'll have going forward. And again, it gets sort of back to what Muslim Bitcoiner was saying. No one wants to run a node. Once peerage in Bitcoin becomes a real social signal, it'll take care of that. I mean, really quick. That's going to be the least of our problems, because the way you're looking at it right now, Muslim Bitcoiner, and the way a lot of people look at it, right, is almost like dieting or like a discipline thing, right? That doesn't work. That's not how we operate. Some people are disciplined enough to do it, but you're only getting that sort of military trained, I make my bed every morning type of person, right? It's fine. Those people exist, but not enough to make the world go round. And you need to tap into something a little more, and prestige and a type of credentialism is much more powerful in reprogramming the subconscious. Right now, it really is just the people who are able to show discipline that are able to do these things, not the people who want status or other things like that. So that'll be a much more powerful thing. So it gets even better, though. It turns out that both Fanni and her lover went to the White House just before charges were laid on Trump about all this stuff, and they spent hours consulting with the White House, and then they charged the White House. They charged them. So the best part of all of this is they're so stupid, they've created a paper trail for us to actually even follow the money. We can, which is a rare thing. We can rarely follow the money when it comes to US dollars. These morons, because it looks, Fanny's probably poor, right? She's probably like a poor public servant trying to like get a better career and get some advancement, and doesn't look like she's got a really high IQ. So this seemed like a good idea to her at the time, right? It's not going to probably work out the way Fanni hopes, right? I'm pretty sure Fanny's career is over. And I'm pretty sure Fanni is going to have trouble finding a job doing this kind of shit once all this shit blows up, because it doesn't look like she has many useful skills. So now, the colleagues' divorce and all of this stuff is going to become a real issue. She looked like herself when she was on stage trying to prosecute this stuff. And now I think it's going to come back on her, and this is going to get Newtonian, right? Equal opposite reactions, what we've been talking about. The idea that she went out and did this is going to come back and screw her. She went on a vacation in Napa Valley, Caribbean cruises, right? The prosecutor itemized 16 hours of meetings with the Biden White House and invoiced for the prosecution of Donald Trump. And I guess this guy too is he was like a personal injury lawyer, like one of these ambulance chasers. He's chasing Fanni. He'd be chasing Fanni. So it's going to get funny. I mean, there's no way this isn't going to be one of the funniest things that ever happened. So Kaneko going further, right? On November 18th, Joe Biden's White House held an 8-hour meeting with Fanni. And on the same day, Joe Biden's attorney appointed Jack Smith. So this was like, okay, today, can you just imagine it, right? Can you just put yourself in that place? You get Joe Biden in the White House. What's going on today? We're gonna get Donald Trump today. And then the people come and say, President, calm down. This is what we're gonna do. We got this case in Georgia, And then we got this case in DC. We got Jack Smith. We got Fanni. It's gonna be great, right? And then Joe Biden. Oh yeah, he's a loser. It went something like that, right? This is what they got. This is who we're up against. These are the least impressive people going. And so if you take it from the Ray Epps sentencing, the joke that our legal system has become, the joke that our media has become, and you start putting that stuff together, right? And then you do the thing that Mike Benz has taught us, right? Mike Benz has showed us that if you understand who the players are in the story, if you understand their relationships, the families, who they work for, what those types of jobs are, you'll get a much better sense and understanding of what's going on in the world. So there's a bunch of people out there, because Jesse Waters did this as well yesterday. He did a thing saying that Taylor Swift is a psyop from the Pentagon. So, of course, the know-it-all credentialists who went to Harvard and think that Ray Epps was a victim and that Fanni Willis is saving democracy and all those people, right? They're like, yeah, right, Taylor Swift. Imagine Joe Biden trying to get Taylor Swift to do something, right? You get Mike Benz saying that, look, these cutouts that the Pentagon and others have been using in media for a long time, this is not new, right? We've been talking about Operation Mockingbird for a long time here and how it functions and how it works and who these people are and what's going on, right? Now, I don't know shit about Taylor Swift, right? I know that she tried to stop Senator Blackburn in Tennessee years ago from getting elected. Something about if she gets elected, then I don't know, people won't get to have sex the way they want anymore, or something like that, or with who they want. Or I tried to make some case that like whoever wants to have sex with other people, if they're the same gender, won't be able to anymore. Something like that. She went with it, and it didn't work out. She had no power, and it's just a failure. Now she can persuade people. I don't want to say she was lower powered then, even in the midterms of 28, than she is now. It's 6 years later. Her power is up, and she's more capable. So laughing at it, I'm not sure if that's the right idea. But here's where it becomes more interesting, right? I told you yesterday. Just knowing this exists, knowing these rails exist, knowing that the book publishing industry, that a lot of Hollywood and a lot of these people are indeed, we can't do what we did with Fanni Willis because they're not charging the Pentagon for 16 hours of consultation. So we can't really follow the money, but you get a bit of a sense of it. And the best example I've seen, and we get a simulation wink on this one, I mentioned it on the show yesterday. It was the Peter Zeihan interview that he gave on Joe Rogan. That was a year ago yesterday. Pete Rizzo yesterday on X reminded us all that Peter Zeihan. So on that interview, I'll try to reenact Peter Zeihan on Joe Rogan, right? So Joe Rogan, is trying to listen to Zeihan, and he's saying, Zeihan, what's going to happen to Bitcoin? And Zeihan does this thing where it's like he's disappointed, like he knows the answer, and he's like trying to. I hate to break it, he's like, I gotta say, it's going to zero. And then he goes, and this is exactly a year ago, right? And Bitcoin was in fucking trouble then, if you remember, right? Like I was already over existential risk to Bitcoin by then, but I remember in the November crash, and I never lost my cool, but I remember seeing the bottom at one point, and I was like, oh shit, right? Like as it was sinking, and we got to $11,000 or something. And I could see these companies blowing up and companies I never thought would blow up. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I can see the ground. Now I held steady. We did shows all those days. I never really worried. I just hadn't seen the bottom before and I could see it, right? I never saw the bottom in the 2018. By the bottom, I mean, it's over, right? I don't mean the bottom of a price swing. I mean, it's over, right? I never saw the bottom in the 2018 crash, barely noticed actually. The 2014 crash, the bottom I never saw it because I was entering the industry and I didn't care, right? Like I was just so happy and that people were moving out and quitting was sort of like great, like it made more space, more opportunities. So it didn't bother me then either. So that was the first time I saw the bottom. Now, by the time this interview happens, right, and Zeihan comes out and says, what Bitcoin is doing and all that. And remember, he breaks it to, yeah, it's going, and he goes, it will crash to below zero, is what he said a year ago, right? Now, Rizzo says ever since Bitcoin is up 140% and it's the world's best performing asset. So this guy also tried to quit Twitter. And he did the announcement like he's at an airport, right? I am quitting Twitter. He did that the day Elon told Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, to go fuck himself, right? Remember that? Zahan's like, oh, Twitter used to be fun that day, but now Elon has turned it into a mean place with mean people. So he tried that, right? So now yesterday, on the same day, the 1 year anniversary of the worst take in 2023 on Bitcoin. It was the worst take in 2023 on Bitcoin. Peter Zahan, the worst take on Bitcoin in 2023. Since then, since Mike Benz and all these people, we've come to understand what a Mockingbird CIA asset looks like. And it looks exactly like Peter Zahan. Exactly. Right? He tells people what they want to hear. He tells people a good story. Oh, China's going to fall. Oh, Europe is done. Oh, all of these things, right? Bitcoin's going below zero, he said. Well, this retard, this moron, this deep state asset 2 days ago tried to say that Trump can't win the election because Republicans only win when they come together. That's his big insight. And he did it with the same arrogant voice that he said, sorry, Joe, I got bad news for you. Bitcoin's going below zero. And he tried that with Trump. He's like, oh, Trump can't win. He can't win, right? He's divided the Republican Party. So Zahan, I'm sorry to break it to you. You're not at the level of Space Drop, but you gotta go. You gotta go, right? We're running away from people like you. And when Bitcoin gets enough of a distance, and when we actually start changing these systems, there's going to be hell to pay. And you can already see what's happening, right? This is from Macroscope, all right? Macroscope 17, okay? And this is why El Salvador is a big story, why Argentina is going to be a big story, and why U.S. states in themselves, like Texas and Florida and all these other places, Missouri, right? You hear what Missouri is doing, right? So Missouri says, if Colorado and Maine ban Trump from the ballot, we're going to ban Biden. And they said, we don't even need a legal reason. I don't care. You don't have legal reasons to ban Trump. We're just going to take a no legal reason, right? So America and the states, what I've said for a year now, waking up, realizing that they're sovereigns, embracing being a sovereign, becoming peers in a sovereign network that is the United States, that are the United States, right? We are going to actually change the language. The language around how we describe the United States is going to change. It's going to go from the United States is, or the Fed is, the federal government is, and it's going to revert back to its original form. The United States are, right? We're headed that way. And here's how I know. This is Macroscope 17, writing for the New York Times, right? So this is a macro market person who was asked to go to El Salvador for a travel article. So El Salvador became one of the featured travel destinations of 2024, according to the New York Times. And here's what he writes. New York Times highlights El Salvador in its widely read annual report on places to visit in the new year. El Zonte is mentioned. If you missed my El Salvador trip report in December, here's the link. Scroll all the way down to see the total view count on the tweet, which is an indication of how much interest there is in the country right now. So he went down there, talked about Bitcoin Beach and investor. If I was an investor looking internationally for on-the-ground opportunities, I would immediately get an office in the capital, San Salvador, and look for ways to put money in the country by either starting a new business and employing Salvadorians or backing an existing business. Multiple sectors are growing fast, including tourism, hospitality, and real estate. The opportunities seem large. So this Bitcoin thing, right, having these states, having the ability now to run away from the U.S. federal government. And it could mean running to U.S. state, not one of the ones that are captured by D.C., It could mean that. It could mean a foreign country. I mean, I ran away from Canada and the United States and all countries. I mean, part of my scam by being able to live here for the winter, I avoid the bad weather up north, and then oscillating between Canada and Vermont on the border is because I never end up spending too much time in any one place, even though I simulate being in one area, because where I am in Vermont and where I am in Montreal is only an hour apart. And I kind of grew up in that environment, that part of Quebec. A lot of people do that. It's like the Hamptons are to New York City. It's just an hour apart. So it's all the same friends, right? Everyone sort of lives in both places. So it takes a lot. And this, just Vermont being there is just a cheat code that benefits me in particular, right? So there you go. So there you go. I want to see all the weather stuff soon, guys. All right, so that's what I got, guys. It's becoming easy to laugh at the psychological engine that's perpetuating the US dollar. It's filled with mental illness. It's just mentally ill institutions running it. They are losing capacity at a rate that is funny. It's funny. Now, the prediction that I have is, if this thing happens in Missouri, I don't think, you can say, oh, elections are canceled. I think it could get even messier. I think no one's going to acknowledge different elections, right? That's kind of how it went with the Lincoln time. Like back in the Civil War, it was different states not recognizing the Electoral College, saying we're on our own. Something like that. I could see happening, but basically there's going to be no agreement on who the president is, which is what I predicted already in 2020. In 2020, I predicted we would have two presidents going forward, because, and it's sort of like that, right? The people who love Trump still acknowledge him as president. The January 6th thing influenced in some ways, maybe for the best. It allowed us to get on with things and watch the corruption bubble to the surface slowly. But that's what we got. All right, let me see some of the quotes. Well, I'll do these quotes and then I'll come into the ones on Rumble. Let's see what we got. Defina, I think they must employ the murdered person if they want to be fair. I didn't think of that. Good morning, Veterans Cannabis. I missed Spain elected a Down syndrome member of parliament. Well, that's fine. They probably work. I should say good night because I should go to sleep and I already took my melatonin and niacin. Come on, man. Yeah, sorry, I missed a bunch of these. What's up, Veterans Cannabis? Good afternoon from Ethiopia, Calcasa. I saw you tweet a cup of coffee from Ethiopia the other day, and boy, was I jealous. Did it look good? Even my boomer parents. Oh, and by the way, Cal, I didn't know. I've been to the Ethiopian Christian church in Jerusalem, but I didn't know that the Ethiopian church kept the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees, which were banned from the Orthodox and Catholic versions of the Bible. And the Book of Enoch is one of my favorites. So I didn't know Ethiopians are aware of all this stuff. It's amazing. Even my boomer parents don't want to vote for Biden this time. My mom asked my brother if Liz Cheney's asked my mom, so things may get worse before they get better. Asked my brother for Liz Cheney's book. Oh no, Robert. Oh no. One love, roots and culture. Yeah, hey Cal. Bitcoin having 24. Send me one Bitcoin and I'll send you two Bitcoin, 2.0 and a Pepe. Wisconsin has votes on sale. I love it. Yeah, they need Satoshi. Seth Meyers was never funny, going all the way back to his time. And I agree. I don't even really know who Seth Meyers is. Like, I've never seen his show. I haven't had like TV and cable in 20 something years. So I don't know a lot of these people. There was a time in the early 2000s where I might go to someone's house late at night and they would put it on. But I haven't even seen like late night, other than clips, haven't past my eyes in, it's been a long time. It's been more than 20 years. I lived in Korea 20 years ago, so there was no TV there. I got back, didn't have a TV, went to law school, didn't have a TV there. I had internet, like I had entertainment, but I haven't had a television in a long, long time. So I don't know about Seth. I don't know about SNL or Seth Meyers or any of these losers. But he's indeed, from what I've seen, not funny. Like not as not funny as Jimmy Kimmel or the other one, Colbert, but just boring. See ya, Robert. Good night. Johnny says, I'm at work now. We got like 10 inches of snow that's now switched to rain and wind. No good, I bet. Yeah, we got hit hard too, Johnny. I know. I was checking the weather, and Daniel, I got 0 snow, it looks like, in my place in Toronto. It was just rain. It was like 45 degrees yesterday in my part of Vermont. It was maybe I'm wrong, but it looked ridiculous. Corruption and greed have to increase if fiat fuckery system-wide to continue, but the cost is insurmountable to sustain. Yeah, you need it. Yeah. Are you a dual U.S. Canadian citizen taxed by both countries? No. So Canada does not have the same tax regime as the United States. If you don't spend 183 days and you pay taxes elsewhere, you don't have to pay in Canada. So I don't hit the threshold in Canada, and I am not a U.S. citizen. So very deliberately, I almost was. I shut it down a couple years ago and stayed not that. So Peter's CIA hand. Very good. Yeah. So taxed a little bit at the federal level. I don't spend enough time in Vermont to be a state taxpayer. So I can do non-resident U.S. federal tax, which has extra clawbacks. So I get extra clawbacks for not being for not living in the United States, but paying some nominal U.S. tax bill erases my obligations to Canada. But I'm pretty much done. I'm not going to be paying anything soon. I'm trying to get out of all. I mean, I can't pay for this stuff. They're too retarded. They can't have any money. I'm not doing it. So I'll do whatever I can at this point to not continue. There was a time in my life where I said, well, let's do even as a Bitcoiner, I said, I'll keep paying a little bit of taxes just to slowly unwind the fiat system. But we lost that ability to slowly unwind it. We got to destroy it. So I think that this year, 2024, with the trouble ahead of us, I think the tax regime falls. I think ultimately that's the punishment that the citizens, especially the MAGA people, inflict on the government. They're not going to pay taxes anymore. That's finished. There's no more. So it's what they should have done last time, but they didn't. So we'll get there. Muslim elections corrupt. Here in Bangladesh, our press got a 4th term yesterday for the past 15 years with no opponents running against her. Argentina knows finally. Yeah. Didn't they run someone to make it look more credible? I thought I read that. They ran someone to make the elections look credible. So they didn't get all the votes. Moscow time number 2, when Joe Biden stumbled speech in Southern, the crowd broke into 4 more years chanting. Oh, that's good. That's good. When Johnny Carson was on late night TV, that's when it was good in my opinion. Yeah, I actually do watch some old Johnny Carson. I was a little too young to get it, and it was too late when it was live. But I have watched several Johnny Carson YouTube highlight videos and all that, and he really was funny. I like it, and it sort of had the air of like you wouldn't have listened to them for your health advice back then. Like they were the appropriate role of late night comedians back then. They weren't trying to be your. Jon Stewart polluted the system so much with what he did because he was successful and good at it, right? He found another way to do the news, kind of like what I'm trying to do here, right? I'm trying to do the news in a way that's funny and interesting and not boring and all that. Now I'm not comparing this work to what Jon Stewart did. Jon Stewart just copied the Saturday Night Live model of fake news and did a show on it, but he tapped into something powerful. But he turned it into a situation where everyone got their news in America from these losers. And, whether or not it was, I think it made the 90s as well, were pretty good at it, with all the Bill Clinton jokes. But there you go. There you go. Stand by for 9:30. Tommy, amen. Taxes, theft. Yeah, as I've said many times, the tax regime was created alongside the Federal Reserve. They come into the world together and they will die together. So as we kill the US dollar and the Federal Reserve system, the tax system will, as a leech, as a parasite, will die with it, right? I'm not sure which is the parasite. I'm not sure which is the host and which is the parasite, the dollar or the taxes, but it doesn't matter. They got to both go, right? And they will be. We're almost there. You nail the news and comedy connection. We always enjoy your show. Thanks, Bitcoin Deb. Remember, I don't make the comedy. The fiat clown world makes the comedy, right? I'm not here to write jokes. I'm here to tell you what I read. That's it, right? I try to not add that other stuff, right? Smash the like button, crew. Indeed, we love it. Let me get the Rumble quotes, and then we shall call it a morning. Yeah, so today's running Bitcoin is in honor of Bitcoin's actual birthday, right? The way to conceive it is it sort of exits the womb on January 3rd, but we don't have confirmation of unassisted breathing. And right, if you listen to the if the debate around when life starts, these abortion people, the ones like the governor of Virginia, who, I don't even want to repeat what he said because it's disgusting. But this, oops, what am I doing? But the truth about when life begins, from a legal point of view, is the unassisted breath, which is ridiculous, right? In Canada, anyways, the unassisted breath. So I don't want to tell you about the hypotheticals that creates, but that are atrocious and disgusting and perverted. But the truth is, Bitcoin was kind of in this like infant ward incubator situation for a few days. We don't know. It might not have been. We just don't know, right? We don't know if we know there was more than one miner working, because there was more than one address to which to send the block reward to. But it looks like one person mined alone for a few days. And again, it's not a network if it's one person, right? It's not a P2P network. So you need two people for it to actually be alive. So I kind of compute that to unassisted breath. So today is the day where Bitcoin was alive. It might have been born January 3rd, but it's alive today and has been alive ever since. And so running is a form of life, right? You're active. And so Bitcoin has been running since then. And how Fanni confirmed it, right? He was the guy who confirmed it. All right, let me see what we got in the live chat. All right. Lots of Rumble chats today. What are we doing on the oh, great. We got a huge audience. Yeah, we're getting into the 300 if you add up all the live viewers now, guys. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun to have a big live audience. Ray Epps, narc life. Yeah, prosecutor equals defense that narcs try other narcs in our fake courts of law. Yeah, Ray Epps did support Pelosi's DC law enforcement by directing the fall guys into the trap the narc police were setting. Yeah, look, you don't have to convince me, Rokar, that Ray Epps is a total agent. Like I'm not confused about it, right? You can vote an unlimited amount of times for Democrats. The poll workers don't care. Yeah, I agree. Like I always tell people, I voted for Biden 3 times. Now, none of it, I never did, obviously. It's just funny, right? But I encourage you all to say the same, because it's one of the most triggering things you can say, right? As a Trump supporter, one of the best traps you can lay for a Democrat is, yeah, no. And it's even funnier as a Bitcoiner, right? I'm into Bitcoin. So I loved Trump in 2015, but he was too good for the dollar, and it fucked my plans with Bitcoin. So I had to go all in on Biden, and that's why I voted for him for 3 times, right? So you're free to copy that. You will get a combination. They don't know what to do. It breaks their brains. They don't know what to do, right? And then you say, and this time I think Fetterman's my guy, right? I love Fetterman, right? Whoever, everyone's talking about him. He could do it. He could make our prediction true. We want the guy with the no brain and the brain problems to be the president. That's what we want, right? As Bitcoiners, we want it more than Vivek, more than RFK, more than Trump. We want Fetterman. Fetterman's too good, right? Sluggo says, everyone is so nice when they are cheating. Yeah, for sure. Do you think the ETFs will get the green light? Rokar says, I do not believe they will be approved today. Nope, maybe in March. Now they have to approve them all or none, or they will probably get sued by anyone who is not approved. That's what it looks like would happen today if they didn't. What does it even matter? Low price means cheap sats. Yeah, I don't care if it does or doesn't. I've been on this train since 2017 as far as ETF approval. I was in New York for the first denial, and I remember the whole CoinDesk office was like, because they just wanted easy stories to write at the time, and I was like, well, it's not going to happen, guys. We're not getting an ETF today. Winklevi were all upset, all right. I saw first interview with Peter early last year, thought he was brilliant, quickly watched a second one, realized he just strings 9 good arguments together, then leapfrogs to USA. Yeah, Narwhal, you had it all. I fell for him for a little while too. He wrote that book, Missing Superpower or Missing America or something. And I've repeated his stuff many times. So look, one thing I've learned is it's no shame to be tricked by the brainwashers. They are good, right? They're good, like really good. Not when they're falling apart in capacity, but Peter Zan is a very smart person, right? He's just working for criminals and villains and putting his ability to the worst possible uses. So, but he'll be destroyed for it. Imagine he made a prediction a year ago that Bitcoin will go to below 0 this year, and he looks like the dumbest person in the world today. Like, how could you take him seriously on anything? And why is he still out there making predictions about the election, right? We know. Rokar says again, narcs have pissed away all Americans' wealth, locking their fellow citizens in jail for nothing. No kidding. Yeah. Now we have an open border drug orgy of a country. That's exactly what's going on. Yeah. Americans flee to El Salvador. It's over. I think they will. I think if they fuck around too much in this election, you're going to get mass emigration from America of the best people, right? You're going to be left with the fucking Fanni Willises and the people who think Fanni Willis is a good lawyer, right? That's what you're going to be left with. Previous American dream, come here for opportunities. Current American dream, escape it if you can. Migrants and low income and wealthier, smarter Americans going where they are treated best. Absolutely. I'll go to Japan. I like it here in Barbados, right? Barbados is great. Barbados, they don't have the same brainwashing all day. The ones who get the American brainwashing are lost here too, but they don't get it. They're not bathing in it, right? They can change their mind like fashion. So that's the good news. Real Americans, America will come back. One of these young generations will decide to kick everyone's ass one day. God bless them. That's what's happening now, Rokar. We're going to do it now. And I'm of the belief that the actual planetary-wide golden age is going to be ushered in by a de-escalation of Washington, D.C., states' rights and individual U.S. states assuming their sovereignty, getting rid of the money, getting rid of taxation, embracing the creative energy of America, and going on the Bitcoin standard. It's going to create an actual utopia on Earth. We're literally this close right now. We're this close. If it wasn't for the brainwashing and the psyops, we'd be there. We'd be there today. All that's keeping this thing going is the psyops and the mass media, and it's burning faster than they can reproduce content. Guys, it's coming down to Seth fucking Meyers. All right. That's our number one obstacle. We're going to bulldoze this motherfucker, right? It's not going to be a problem. All stay and fight, Letterbuck. Yeah. True on January 6th. And again, one of the things we'll never have to forget is that all this bullshit aside, First Amendment failed us. Everyone says, oh, the First Amendment is the best and this and this and this and blah, blah, blah. They all failed us. except for the beautiful Second Amendment, except for our beautiful 2A. And in the end, 2A is actually what everyone will remember saved America. Because indeed, just as Rokar says here, you don't have to go anywhere. Go to Walmart, buy a fucking gun, and get ready, right? Now, I'm not telling anyone to be violent at all, ever, but you have the right to defend yourself in America and only in America. And that is going to be remembered as all the difference. When I became a refugee from Brooklyn because of the George Floyd summer, right? That's what it wasn't COVID that got me a refugee out of Brooklyn. I told everyone that summer, I'm running away from the Statue of Liberty. I'm running the fuck away from this place because all of a sudden everybody hates me. And that wasn't like that a week before. A button was pushed and it was a problem. And that's why I split. And I won't go back there. But everyone who I spoke to, even liberals who were anti-Trump, who were out trying to, because everyone was trying to get a firearm in that summer, everybody, right? And the most liberal people you've ever met, finally, and I said it that summer, I said in the summer of 2020, finally, gun debates in America are over forever. You're not going to have to explain it again. Because in that summer, if you called the police in New York City, they told you, pound cement, bro, we're not coming. We're not coming. That's what they would tell you. Your house could get broken into and they would say, we're not coming. So what do you think people did? Everybody bought guns. Everybody. I always was a 2A lover, right? I've been trying to defend Canadian gun rights for a long time. I celebrated when we got rid of our long gun registry. I was part of a government in Canada that was very pro hunting weapons and all of that stuff. So I've been a fan of the Second Amendment for as long as I can remember. I was a Second Amendment fan when it was deeply unpopular in colleges and things like that. I would defend it. I defended it as a student in Europe. I've always defended it. I will continue to defend it. And I think it's what saved us. It's what's going to save us. I still have never really worried for America, even as our government fell, elections were stolen, markets manipulated, bullshit everywhere, homeless people everywhere, drugs everywhere, censorship everywhere. You know, take the worst of the last 4-year cycle. I'd say the worst moment of the last 4-year cycle was probably summer 2022. Right? Trump is out of the news. He's a loser. Elon doesn't own X yet. They're running PSYOPs nonstop. I didn't even worry then because of the Second Amendment. So it's an amazing thing, right? Rokar, peace. Have a good day. Much love, indeed. Narwhal, Ethiopia is old school Christian. They claim a church of theirs has the Ark. I don't see how Satoshi would have brought Bitcoin live without adding 3 or 4 PCs running the protocol just to watch how they interact. No, but I agree with that. So this is Narwhal Tacos. But still, there's a person. So there's definitely more than one computer. We know that, right? That we know. But it's still not peers. It's not another person, right? So the first other person we know of to be mining Bitcoin is Hal. And now you can actually do a transaction, right? So to me, the actual day it's alive is today. The birthday and the alive day are not exactly the same. But I'm just playing around with stuff, you know. I don't think you have to follow my point of view on this. I'm not, that would be fine. Did I see the George Floyd doc? No, I didn't, Daniel. It blew up on X 2 days ago, but I bet I know what's in it. I mean, fentanyl and all of that, right? Yesterday, I learned that Roatan off Honduras is inexpensive English-speaking Bitcoin paradise. No one is talking about. Yeah, I got friends who live there. I have a friend I grew up with. His dad was an arms dealer from Switzerland, and very rich, really nice family. But I don't know what his dad really was up to all the time, but he was a former general in the Swiss Army and came to Canada to be an arms dealer. And their family used to spend winters in Roatan, and I learned all about it. back then and thought about going a few times. So I've always known what it is. And now that the Bitcoiners have been going there, I've also noticed. George Floyd was I didn't know that. A color revolution, psychological operation, and social media matrix mayhem to promote violence against America and constitutional law. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. All right, team. That's all I got for today. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. I'll see y'all tomorrow for another edition of The Breakup, and where I bet there's going to be more funny news. So there you go.